Have you ever felt like something shifted? Like the world around you isn't quite how you remember it? An object in the wrong place? A memory no one else shares? A moment that loops, then vanishes? You might think it's just your mind playing tricks. But what if it's something deeper? What if you've slipped into a different version of reality altogether? Signs. You have jumped timelines and alternate realities, the nature of slippage. Welcome to Transmutation Vortex. This is where it begins. The experience of strangeness. People rarely recognize the moment their reality begins to wobble. It doesn't happen with cinematic flair. No shimmering doorway, no vertiginous lurch, no thunderclap of cosmic displacement. Instead, it arrives quietly. Something on your shelf is the wrong color. A childhood memory feels too crisp, like it belongs to someone else. A street you've walked down for years seems to slope a few degrees differently. A person's face looks almost, but not quite, rearranged. You tell yourself you're tired. You tell yourself it's your imagination. You tell yourself you're misremembering. But then the anomalies accumulate. A friend insists on a version of an event that contradicts your own flawless recollection. A symbol that once carried meaning feels strangely empty. You wake with a faint sense of displacement, as if the geography of the world shifted by a centimeter while you slept. Is it psychological noise, or have you slipped? The speculative idea of timeline jumping suggests the latter, that consciousness can hop between parallel branches of reality, landing in a version of the world nearly identical to the one before it, except for the subtle residues of difference. Meanwhile, scientific and psychological explanations insist the human brain is a notoriously unreliable narrator, prone to reconstructing memories, filling gaps, and misinterpreting sensory input. This text, 20,000 words in full, explores both sides of that line, not to resolve the conflict, but to navigate its tension. What is a timeline? Speculative view. In metaphysical and esoteric frameworks, a timeline is not merely the path reality takes. It is one of many possible routes, each representing a complete configuration of events, choices, and consequences. Imagine an endless tree. Every decision is a branch. Every outcome is a leaf. Every possibility that could occur does occur somewhere. But in speculative metaphysics, the timeline you experience is not fixed. Consciousness is the traveler, not the tree. Quantum-adjacent model. Some thinkers connect timeline shifts to interpretations of quantum mechanics, particularly many worlds. Interpretation, MWI. Every quantum event produces a branching universe. Quantum decoherence determines which branch collapses into perceived reality. Observer-dependent reality. Perception influences which branch becomes real to you. Of course, physics does not officially endorse timeline hopping by consciousness. This is metaphor, myth, or possibility, depending on whom you ask. Dimensional overlap. Another speculative model suggests that timelines are layered like translucent sheets stacked together. Under certain conditions, emotional intensity, trauma, liminality, profound intention or randomness, the sheets brush against one another. A consciousness can pass from one to another like a whisper slipping between thin pages. The psychological model, scientific view. If the metaphysical model sees timeline shifts as external, science sees the shifts as internal. Memory is not a recording. Neurology makes one thing abundantly clear. Your memories are not video footage, they're reconstructions, and reconstructions are prone to drift. Every time you recall something, you rewrite it slightly. Every time you store it again, you store a modified version. Over years, tiny shifts accumulate, making some memories sharper than they should be, blurrier than they once were, altered by new emotions, contaminated by suggestion, corrected by imagination, a timeline jump. or the normal erosion of memory. Cognitive biases that feel like reality shifts. Several well-documented mental phenomena produce the sensation that the world is no longer consistent. Derealization. The environment feels subtly unreal or hollow. Depersonalization. You feel like an observer of your own life. False memory formation. Entire events can be misremembered with confidence. Confabulation. The brain fills in missing details without your awareness. Misattribution. You remember the fact but attribute it to the wrong source, place, or time. These processes can create eerie discontinuities, identical to reports of metaphysical timeline shifts. The middle ground. Reality is both internal and external. Human beings love binaries: physical or metaphysical, real or imagined, brain or universe. But reality is rarely that simple. Even strictly scientific perspectives acknowledge that perception constructs the world, not just receives it. Your eyes don't show you reality. They show you a highly filtered, neurologically altered simulation of reality. Your brain corrects inputs, fills gaps, predicts patterns, and creates a smooth narrative. Thus, when people say, "I know the world feels wrong, even though I can't explain why," they may be reporting a real phenomenon, just not necessarily one that requires the universe itself to have shifted. A shift in perception can feel indistinguishable from a shift in reality. Yet here's the twist. If your consciousness is your reality, then a shift in perception is a shift in reality. And so the scientific and metaphysical frameworks, rather than contradicting each other, may be describing different layers of the same experience. The first category of signs: object-level shifts. These are the earliest, simplest, and most common indicators described by people who believe they have moved between timelines. They involve physical things, but very small things. Nothing dramatic enough to disrupt the structure of society, just enough to unsettle the edge of your certainty. Displaced items. Something familiar is in the wrong location. A book you swear you left on the table is now on the bed. A shirt you don't remember buying is folded in a drawer. The jar in your refrigerator is on the wrong shelf. Your keys appear somewhere you would never place them. Psychological explanation: misremembering, inattentiveness, unconscious movement. Speculative explanation: small details differ across adjacent realities. When you shift, you land in the version where that item always had that location. Why these things? Because they are low-energy deviations. The economy, geography, and history must remain stable across nearby timelines. A coffee mug, however, can differ infinitely. Object transformation. This involves things that are the same object but are now different. People report a logo having a slightly different shape, a favorite jacket having a button that used to be a zipper, a toy from childhood looking smaller than remembered, a drawing from years ago showing details you don't recall drawing. Psychological explanation: reconstructive memory, inattentional blindness. Speculative explanation: when shifting to a close parallel timeline, macrostructures remain stable, but micro details, patterns, colors, small features alter slightly. The new old item. You find an object you've supposedly owned for years, but have zero memory of. A ring, a notebook, a kitchen item, a sweater, a USB drive. Friends insist you've always had it. You may even find old photos showing it. In metaphysical terms, this is an artifact of the other you, the one native to this version of the world. The second category of signs: memory level shifts. These are subtler. They involve your recollections diverging from the consensus reality. Divergent personal memory. You remember something happening one way, but everyone else insists it happened another. A conversation you recall in detail never took place. A person claims they told you something you're certain they never mentioned. Someone remembers you attending an event you are confident you did not attend. Psychological explanation, false memory formation, cross-timeline conceptual blending within the psyche. Speculative explanation, you remember events from the previous timeline. The current timeline's version of those events is different. The Mandela effect category. These are collective misrememberings of facts such as spellings, logos, geographic placements, quotes, historical timeline facts, product designs, scientific interpretation, memory conformity, cultural contamination, misquotes, and pattern matching errors. Metaphysical interpretation, mass consciousness periodically shifts between universes, and some individuals retain fragments from the previous branch. Memory dimensionality. Some memories feel too vivid, too three-dimensional, as if they belonged to a different camera angle. Others feel unnervingly flat, like cardboard cutouts. This is sometimes described as memories with different lighting memories, with altered emotional texture memories that feel imported. Psychology, emotional state influences memory reconstruction. Speculative metaphysics. Memories from the previous timeline carry the energetic imprint of that reality. The third category of signs, social and human shifts. These are among the most disturbing signs because they involve other people changing. Someone's face looks off. Not in a dramatic way, nothing like a different person, just slightly wrong. Their eyes are shaped differently. Their smile sits at a slant you never noticed. Their voice tone seems shifted by a fraction. Their mannerisms feel foreign. Psychology. People subtly change constantly. Perception recalibrates. Metaphysics. In nearby timelines, other versions of people differ slightly. When you jump, you encounter them instead of the versions you knew. Someone remembers a different version of you. This one is unsettling. A friend recalls a trip you never took, a job you never had, a conversation that never occurred, a hobby you never practiced, a moment from your childhood that feels alien. Their confidence and the level of detail they provide can be unnerving. Psychologists would call this social confabulation or conversational memory drift. Speculative theorists call it timeline blending. Their memory aligns with the version of you native to this reality. People treat you ever so slightly differently, not radically. Not enough to suggest anything overt. Just a co-worker who suddenly acts warmer, a friend who seems strangely distant. A person who used to be sarcastic now becomes polite. Someone's sense of humor shifts subtly. These micro-shifts, when accumulated, form a pattern. The fourth category of signs, environmental glitches. These are signs that the background of your world has shifted. Familiar places look wrong. Your childhood home seems smaller. A street's incline feels steeper. A tree looks like it grew in the wrong direction. A store layout is slightly off. Psychology, perceptual drift, false spatial memory, selective attention. Metaphysics. You're in a parallel universe where geography is 98% the same, with tiny inconsistencies. The weather pattern that shouldn't happen. You feel certain the season used to arrive earlier. Rain patterns feel out of rhythm. A region experiences a type of weather you don't remember being common. Psychology. Climate change plus poor general memory for weather. Metaphysics. Weather patterns are sensitive to micro-variations across timelines. Animals behave differently. Your pet suddenly dislikes a room it always loved. Birds congregate in places you've never seen them. Insects appear in unusual quantities or colors. Psychology, random variation in animal behavior. Speculative view, animals may be more sensitive to timeline inconsistencies. The fifth category of signs, internal shifts. These involve you, your identity, preferences, memories, or emotional patterns. A. Spontaneous personality micro-changes. You find yourself disliking foods you once enjoyed, using phrases you never used before, having opinions you don't remember forming, feeling neutral about something that used to provoke emotion. Psychology, natural personality drift, hormonal changes, neuroplasticity. Metaphysics, the you from the previous timeline had different patterns, you now carry both. Sudden skill, activation or loss. You become inexplicably good or bad at something. People report writing more fluently, losing the ability to recall a language they once spoke, solving puzzles more easily, struggling with tasks they mastered for years. The scientific view attributes this to cognitive fatigue, memory interference, or skill regression. Speculative metaphysics claims it's due to discrepancies between your old skill set and that of the version native to this timeline.